Okay, students, today we are starting separation of substance. As I tell you, I'll start new chapter today. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
So see the term, the separation of substances. Like when we will choose the process of separation, in a mixture, we will choose the process of separation, right? To separate the substance, whatever are required, or to separate impurities, or to separate the useful components which we want to use. So in these instances, we use separation method. Okay, like example, if I want to separate butter from milk or curd, so what I can do here, this process is called as churning process. So through churning process, I can separate butter. And here, while making tea, we will use tea leaves. So to separate tea leaves, we are using strainer here. Strainer to separate tea leaves. Okay, so based on our need, we use the method of separation. Okay, so the separated materials may be of different sizes. They can be solid, can be separated, liquids can be separated, or even gases can be separated, isn't it? So in this case, we are separating in two examples. We are separating solids. Okay, we can separate liquid as well, even the gases. Okay, now we will see methods. What are the methods generally we will follow in separation process? Methods of separation. So the first method is hand picking method. First method, hand picking. Do you heard this term?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay, let me show you the image. What is being done here?
Ma'am, he's just removing that rocks from the grains by hand.
Yeah. That's what we also do at home, right?
Yes, ma'am. I just did
While
it like
cooking,
3 times. I did that thing. 3
yeah,
times.
while cooking rice, we will not only rice, any pulses and everything. We will separate the impurities like dirt, stones, husk from the wheat, rice, pulses, and everything. Okay. So generally, when hand picking method is used, if the particle sizes are large, right? Like
Yeah, rice and pulses.
yes, pieces of dirt, stone, husk from wheat, rice, and even the pulses. In all pulses, you can find the stones and everything. Okay, when we will prefer these hand picking methods, students, when we can use this method, if the impurities are not really big and like you can easily remove, if you can easily remove, then you will choose this hand picking method, isn't it?
Yeah, ma'am.
Now, the next method is threshing. So what is threshing?
Ma'am, in the threshing chaff is used, ma'am.
Can you see the image here?
Yes, ma'am.
So the crop is harvested and the harvested crop actually it is beaten. Why it is beaten means so that the rice, whatever the
Ma'am,
grain,
they beat it through a chaff, ma'am.
what?
Ma'am, they beat it through chaff.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Ma'am, I'm telling they're beating through chaff. CHALL.
Why we will use this method means to separate grains from the stalks It is actually what is cultivated, the crop, whichever you are cultivating, you'll cut that crop from the soil and then you'll beat against the land so that the stalks are separated and the grains come out. Okay, sometimes this method, directly the men used to do this method, or else they will use some bullocks for this removal process. And for large quantity, they will use machines as well. So threshing means process that is used to separate grain from stalks. Okay, so in this process, what we are doing, stalks are beaten to free the grain seeds. Okay, so okay, sometimes this threshing is also done by bullocks. Sometimes threshing is done by bullocks. And machines are also used. Machines are also used to thresh large quantities of grains. Okay, did you understand what is threshing?
Yes, ma'am.
So in threshing, whatever the crop is there, the harvested crop we will beat so that the grain seeds, can you see the grains, how they are fallen on the land?
Yes, ma'am.
So that process is called threshing. Okay, the first method is we can separate through the dirt, impurities, everything by the process of hand picking. And the second method is to remove grains from their stalks. We use threshing method. Okay, shall I go for the next process?
Yes, ma'am.
You can go for the notes in resources tab of WeXL. Okay, the next method is winnowing.
Can I tell what is winnowing?
Yes.
Ma'am, winnowing, ma'am, we will throw the particles, ma'am, up in the air, and the light particles will fly away, and the strong particles, which are the heavy particles, will come on the floor.
Yes,
So,
can you see?
yes, ma'am, the light particles are flying and the heavy particles are settling.
So they actually, this process is done in presence of air. Due to air, heavier and lighter particles are separated. Okay, actually the husk, whatever the coating, whatever the covering of the seeds is called, the grains is called as husk. The husk is actually lighter, so that lighter husk is separated easily, and the grains, you can see the grains here and the husk there. Can you see here how grains and husk are separated? So winnowing is, it is used to separate heavier and lighter components of a mixture how we are doing? By wind. or we can do by blowing as well. So simply like you have seen your mothers or grandmothers, they will take the grains in a in this, and what they will do, simply they will blow it with the help of, with the mouth they will blow. So due to that, the husk whatever is there, it sleep. Have you ever seen?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes. So this process is called as winnowing process. So the lighter husk particles are carried away by the wind. And heavier grain form a heap near the platform of winnowing. Okay, can you see how heap is formed here? How the grains are separated? So the grains are separated in this way. These are heavier and a heap is formed, whereas the husk, you can see how husk is going away. Okay, and can you tell me, students, whether husk is useful thing or you will throw it out?
Ma'am,
Throw it out, ma'am.
You will throw it out? No, actually it is very useful. The husky is whatever the husk, it is removed from the rice, what we are eating. That husky is given to the cattle, to the buffaloes and all. It is food to them. So they will mix with their food and they will give it.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
So husky is very useful. The separated husky is used for many purposes such as fodder for cattle.
Ma'am, we can the substances for useful components, and sometimes we take out the harmful components from that.
Yeah. Actually, we will separate out. So whether it is useful, for usefulness also you will separate out to use it, as well as impurity also we will separate out. Okay, so the husk, so the next point is separated husk. Husk is used for many purposes such as fodder for cattle. So see here, in this, the beaker, we have taken sand water and sand is deposited at the bottom. So sand is called as sediment. As it is of heavier mass, it is deposited at the bottom. This process of deposition is called as sedimentation. Okay, and so whatever the sediment which is at the bottom, if you are removing this water from this sediment, like can you see how they are being separated? So this separation is called as decantation process. Okay, decantation process. Next, what about filtration? So from whatever the impure is there, from the impure, so the mixture of insoluble, solid and liquid can be separated from filtration process. So in filtration process, generally we will use filter paper. If you are not using filter paper, simply you are separating water, it is called decantation. If you are using filter paper to separate, it is called filtration process.
ma'am,
Yes.
like after decantation, we can drink that water.
After filtration, yes, we can drink water because the whatever the impurities in the mud.
Decantation.
No, you have to. No, because you can't. There may be small particles, and even the water, it won't be of exact pure color. You won't get exact water color. It may be of muddy water, so you can't drink it. So that if you want to remove that also, you need a filter paper for it, because the role of filter paper is it is having very small pores which doesn't allow the impurities to pass through.
Then we can drink it.
Yes, after filtration we will drink, right? We can drink after filtration process. Generally, the fruit juices, vegetable juices, what we will do, we will use a strainer and we will filter it out, right?
Yeah, to remove small pieces of.
Yes. So you can not only like impure mud, we will remove the whatever we don't want, we can remove it. For the useful component uses, you can remove it by using a filter paper. Then that process is called filtration. Okay. Now we will see one by one. So what is sedimentation means? When heavier component in the mixture settles after water is added to it, that process is called sedimentation. So let me write. In a mixture settles after water is added to it. This process is called sedimentation. Did you understand what is sedimentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything settles at the bottom, that process is called sedimentation, and whatever is settling, it is called sediment.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, sedimentary rocks are different, right?
What?
Ma'am, sedimentary rocks are different, right?
Yes, those are different.
Okay, ma'am.
Next, coming to decantation. So from the sedimentation, the water is there, if it is separated. So in the water, dust may be present or may not be present, students. This you have to keep in your mind that in decantation process, when the water along with the dust, just what we are doing, we are separating. We are not using any kind of medium to separate it. So when the water along with dust is removed, the process is called decantation.
Ma'am, I have a doubt in filtration.
You have a doubt in?
Filtration.
Okay.
So, if we filter water with another process, something other than like using like a filter paper, is that still counted as filtration?
So what you want to use?
Ma'am, like a strainer.
Yes. So it depends on the mixture you are taking. So for a
So
strainer,
only water and sand.
water and
Sand.
sand. Yes, water and sand. See, it depends on the particles or the components present inside the mixture. Suppose for sand, strainer is enough, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
But if you want to separate any other small things, small particles which are lesser than sand, you can't separate it with the help of that strainer. You need a filter paper. That's what we will call it as filtration. So filter paper, it will be having very small pores which doesn't allow any solute particles through it, even the sand and dust.
So the filtration process has to be successful for it is to be counted as filtration.
What?
So the filtration has to be successful for it to be counted as like the process.
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
I'm telling you that we will grind fruits and vegetables and we will filter it out. Isn't it? It is also called a filtration process. You can use any strainer. If you are removing the unwanted things or the impurities, then it is called filtration.
Okay, ma'am.
So next process is filtration. A mixture of insoluble, and one more thing, we can remove only the insoluble ones, not the soluble ones. Suppose if I'm taking sugar water or salt water, I can't separate salt from sugar with the help of this because it is completely dissolved, soluble, right? So whatever insoluble are there, that only can be separated. So the mixture of insoluble, solid and liquid can be separated. Okay, a filter paper which has very fine pores can be is used to separate if water is muddy. So to separate mud from the water, then you can use filter paper. Understood? So you can see here how we are using the filter paper. Filter paper is placed inside this distal funnel. Can you see filter paper? We will fold it in the form of cone shape and we will place in this distal funnel, and then we will start. You can see the mud which is deposited here and the water, pure water, is separating out.
Ma'am, can you show the filtration thing again?
Can you?
Ma'am, can you show the filtration diagram again, ma'am?
Yeah, sure.
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, in the filter paper, you said there are very small holes, right, ma'am?
Yes.
So some small particles of dust like mud, very
Yeah,
small.
we can separate it out by using filter paper.
Yes, ma'am. Some particles will be very small that they can pass through that thing also, right, ma'am?
No, we will use very fine pore filter paper. You won't get, you'll get pure water only.
Okay, ma'am. Even small pinch of dust also cannot pass.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, is that clear? Shall I move on to the next concept? So the next process is the sixth one, evaporation. So everybody have idea on this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
How evaporation is generally used for separation
Ma'am,
technique?
to get the soluble substance back. To get the soluble substance back. Like if we mix salt and water, to get our salt back, we use a process of evaporation. In
How
this,
can you prove that? Generally salt, if you, as you told me about salt, so salt is generally present in seawater, right? Where you'll get salt from? Seawater.
Yes, ma'am.
So in the seashore, you can see that in the shallow pits, the salt is deposited.
Yeah, ma'am. If we want to separate it, ma'am, we can like
Because the water level will be low at in that particular area. So due to sunlight, the water evaporates and salt is remained. Okay, but it takes some time. It won't. After some days, you can find solid salts. So in the same way, common salt, whatever the salt we are using at home, it is also obtained in the same way, and that salt is purified again. Okay.
ma'am, we can boil the water and we'll get the water as evaporation, ma'am.
Yeah, we can do that experiment in the home. If you want to prove that, you can mix the salt water in a beaker. You can mix salt into the beaker and you can boil it.
Yes,
so after boiling, the water evaporates completely. It evaporates, and salt is remained in the beaker at last. Isn't it?
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So the evaporation process, evaporation is conversion of water into vapor. But one thing in chemistry, exactly what we have to tell about evaporation is conversion of water into vapor below its boiling point. That is the correct definition of evaporation.
Water is the water heated at the degree of 100 degrees Celsius?
Yes, below 100 degrees Celsius, if the water becomes vapor, that is called evaporation. Below its boiling point. So the process of conversion of water into its vapor below its boiling point is called evaporation.
Ma'am, after the evaporation process, can we play a quiz?
After evaporation,
Can we do a quiz?
can you do?
Ma'am, the quiz, ma'am, quiz.
Quiz. No, tomorrow quiz.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Tomorrow we will be discussing some more terms and then we will be having quiz on tomorrow. Clear with the
Yes,
so will you learn tomorrow all these concepts?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Then only I'll ask first. If you are perfect, only we will do quiz. Otherwise, no.
Yes, ma'am, we
Okay,
can
ma'am.
ask questions.
Yes, ma'am. Can ask.
Simply solving questions without Learning means it doesn't make any sense. You have to learn and then performing in the quiz. It gives you confidence to you. Okay. So clear about the evaporation definition. Example, what is example you can tell? Common salt. Isn't it common salt?
Yes, ma'am. Salt is
From seawater. Okay, there is one of the activity in your textbook. That activity is to prove evaporation of water containing salt. That's what we discussed now. How we will prove the evaporation by take at home. We will mix salt or else a salt water. By taking in a beaker, we will boil it. So until total vapor evaporates, we will boil it, and at last you can see salt which is deposited or which is remained in the beaker. Okay.
okay.
Then, so
Okay, ma'am.
I'll just give you a quick recap and then we'll end the session.